Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we'll have another jumping lesson. Obviously it's not going to be the setup that is currently on display here. We're not jumping that high yet, but we will do our first little circuit here. So we'll have actually more than one jump to do. So we'll see how Hazel does with that. Another objective today is if Hazel offers a nice canter, just to continue with it and see what we can do. I must say that Hazel's canter has improved like drastically over the last 2 weeks. It's like something just clicked in her mind and she figured the perfect balance for the canter. So it's so light, it's so nice to actually canter with her, because you can barely feel her hooves on the ground, and the same as the seat is not moving that much. So I'm really happy with that. I'm thinking for dressage we'll probably try to collect her a little bit more, just to make sure that she's actually steady and we can control the pace. But other than that, her canter is actually coming along super nicely. So here we're just doing some warm-up. Obviously we have to warm up really well before we start jumping, so we're taking our time here. One of the things I haven't realized, and you'll see it throughout the whole video, is unfortunately I didn't realize that I could go beside the jumps there, so I just kept on going in kind of a weird bean shape instead of going all around the arena. Just, I don't know why, it seemed like it was too narrow for us to fit, but I guess we could have tried to go that way as well. Since it is our first time in the arena with the little door open on the side, I had to do a little bit of desensitization, just because Hazel, that was the first thing she saw when we came in the arena, is that open door. She just looked straight at it and seemed really intrigued. It's been obviously, I think, 5 or 6 months that the door haven't been open, so just to get her a little bit more desensitized. As you can see, her head is actually pretty high. She wants to peek her head out there and see what's there, but it's really important to just make sure that she just pays attention to me rather than the outside. So I like to just go around, make sure that I can get her collected, get her head lower when we get closer to that door. Another key element that I'm actually working on with Hazel is her working trot. So when we actually did our dressage training, we had to find her balance trot, which is actually a little slower than that. And it's great when you're doing like a sitting trot or something like that, or if you're just actually showing in dressage. But when it comes to jumping, we have to be a little bit more upbeat here, and find a working trot where she can actually head to the jumps with. So this is actually her working trot. It's a work in progress. It seems like sometimes it's just hard to keep her right in that spot between her regular trot and this one. So we're just trying to get the working trot from the get-go when we're having a jumping lesson. So like that will help us greatly to jump or do any other thing in that discipline. So while my coach is setting up the jumps here, I just want to quickly mention as well that Hazel is on a new bit here. It is a French link Pelham, and we have noticed such an improvement in her posture with that bit. Like, she just seems to put herself on the bit and just keep her head there. It's actually really easy to ride her in that bit as well. She just takes it, she's relaxed with it, and so nothing is really forced. It's really, you feel like basically nothing in your hands, which is really, really nice. She bends to it really nicely, and I feel like there is a lot of possibilities with that bit alone, just to get her to execute some different movements with it. So even side passes, shoulder in, those kind of things are really easy with that bit. So I'm really actually glad that we made the change. The one that she had before was just to kind of teach her not to lean on the bit and pull me down, but it seems she really understood that, and she doesn't need that other bit anymore. So I'm actually really glad, because that's a kind of a fairly mild bit. It's just a French link, and obviously with the Pelham you have the upper hand if you need it. The second set of reins would help you, you know, get the horse's head to lower, or put a little bit more pressure on the horse. So the warm-up's officially over and the lesson is starting. So we're gonna go with our first Chiavelletti jump, which Hazel did beautifully here. So as I usually do, when I have like a little bit of a circuit, I just go over the same jump a couple times and see how she does with that. And then when I feel comfortable, I will add the second jump as well. So we're just going over that a few times. One of the things that we actually have to work on is the pace heading towards the jump, as well as making sure we are centered. So as you will see in this next jump here, sometimes it seems we have a little issue over the jump between her front and her back legs. So it's like she's kind of diagonal to the jump, even though I feel like I'm lining her properly to it. So that's something we're going to be working on. I also noticed sometimes that her shoulder is not falling exactly where it's supposed to. So I'm gonna work a little bit harder on like getting a proper bend from shoulder to her hip, and that will help us to be aligned when we actually want to do something. It's really important that the horse is actually centered on the jump. You obviously don't want to jump them on a slant or anything like that. So that's something that I'm gonna be working on. So here I got off of the horse just because I noticed that the saddle wasn't properly centered on her back, and that might be also one of the reasons why we're actually so slanted. And so we're actually putting on one of those elastic 3-point martingale that will help us just keep the saddle in place, and hopefully that does a little bit of wonders here. So yeah, that's what we're doing, a little pit stop to change our tack. So now that we're back on the tack, I feel a lot better, and I feel that the saddle is a little bit more centered. So my coach is gonna help me bump up a little bit my girth here. We're still breaking in that girth. It is a total saddle fit girth that we've been breaking in for the past 3 weeks. It's actually, the elastics were really tough on it, and it's finally starting to give. So yeah, I feel much better. It seems it's more centered on the horse. Hazel feels better, so that's great. So it seems like it's gonna work properly for us. So back in the working trot here, we're just going ahead on the other side. And usually what happens with Hazel is she hits the jump once or twice at the beginning, and then she figures the height of the jump, and then she just jumps normally. So that's something that will happen. It's totally fine. And she learns greatly from it just by being able to gauge the height of a jump. So I'm actually really proud of her. It's her, I think, third jumping lesson now, and she's doing it really nicely. She's learning really fast. It seems she really likes the discipline, so that's great. Obviously I'm more of a dressage rider. I love dressage, but if my horse really likes to jump, then I'm not opposed to doing it with her. So here we're playing on the other set of jump here. So we will go a couple times, and as you can see here, she offers a canter in the proper lead. So we're just taking that offer here and just going with it. Her canter, like I said, is much more balanced. As you can see, it's definitely lighter. You can barely hear her hooves on the ground, so that's wonderful. So we'll play a little bit with that jump as well before we integrate both jumps. At this point, I must say we're both really hot. Hazel and I were actually worked really hard on this one, so I'm really pleased. So this would have been a great opportunity to actually pick up a canter, but she did not offer it, so we did not go with it. But it seems like she's doing really well over that jump compared to the Cavalletti here. Nice canter here. It was the wrong lead, so it's time to just sort it out. As you can see, Hazel is a little bit more guns ablaze as soon as it comes to jumping and cantering. It makes her a little bit more excited, so I have to make sure I balance her properly before I try again the jump. And here I decided to abort the mission just because my reins were all tangled and I didn't feel like we would make the jump. So we're going at it now, and it's pretty smooth. And we missed actually doing a nice like a nice straight line after the canter, so that's something that I have to work on. The straight lines, it's just my cues were a little off. Sometimes with jumping I feel like it's a little overwhelming because I have so much things to do at once, so it's hard for me to last minute do a change or making sure that I pick up something different. It's just that I have so much going on, so I just have to go step by step and figure it out myself, and then eventually I can add on something new. Canter was really good. It's just that she gave me a couple of like head bumping and things that I wasn't really a fan of. So usually when that happened, that's something that, you know, she's doing that I have no control over. I just keep on pushing her through it, so until we actually reach a point where she's actually the way I want her to, so she's not moving her head bumping or anything like that, and then we can just continue with something different. So going again towards the jump, she offers the canter, but yet again her head goes like all different direction. Since something's bothering her, but at this point it's not the time to kind of go crazy with your head, so I'm just working her until she stops bumping her head. And then here I'm doing a good backup reset, and I'm gonna try to pick up the canter again just to see if we can get that head bumping down. Perfect, so we're officially in a circuit here. So the point is I jump the first jump, I do as many circles as needed before I head towards the Cavalletti, and then same thing on the other end. If I need a couple circles, I will do a few just to balance herself before we take on to the next jump. So what was happening is I think Hazel was getting really excited. She was getting really forward, and it was really hard for me to kind of pace her between the two jumps, just to do like kind of a normal circuit, if you will. So by adding the circles, it gives us a little bit more room to work on some stuff before we can actually properly head to the other jump. after jumping and cantering for a bit, this is going to be the end of the first part of our lesson. So one of the things my coach noticed is that Hazel was definitely not centered to the jump. Yes, she jumps, but she's not as centered as she should be. So we're going to have to tackle that a little bit. So she's going to drop the poles and set up a nice set of trying poles for us, so we can actually work on two things: her pace and her straightness. So like that we can make sure that she's not like slanted. It seems that Hazel was really stiff in one direction, like I could not bend her properly, and that really creates a little bit of an issue when we're trying to get straight to a jump or the ground poles for that matter. So it was really hard. For some reason, maybe she was just stiff on the one side, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm just testing to make sure that she's bending properly, because that makes a huge impact on how we can hit our poles. So after a good cool down, we're ready to hit the poles. So you'll see how not centered we are, and that's exactly the point of this exercise. So you see we're hitting them like a little bit off, and also we are too fast. So I'm slowing Hazel down here, giving her a little backup just to make sure we have control, and she lowered the cavallari as well, so it's just one single pole she has to go over. So we're working again on the straightness, and as you can see here, Hazel's too fast and she blew the poles. So really important. The cavallari seems like that's something she's mastered. She can go to the middle, but she's rushing a bit through those three poles here. So what my coach is explaining to me is that Hazel is probably getting a little tired, which is obviously something that would happen after jumping. And what happens is she's trying to get away from the pressure, so she's just fast forwarding, trying to go a little too fast to get to the poles and just get to the other side. So here I'm doing a little bit of a bend check. Something is, I don't know, definitely bothering her, but I'm not having it. So I'm just trying to correct her on her behavior, and it seems like her head is back where it's supposed to be. So we're doing a few circles here, making sure that the circles are good. As you can see, her shoulder is moved in the proper direction, and then we're heading over to the poles. So even though she stumbled, she did not hit any of the poles, and she actually applied herself there. Same for the cavallari, so I'm actually really happy with that. So once again here, Hazel's being a little forward. She's rushing through these. We will have to work on her stamina and her willingness to continue the lesson when she gets a little tired. She just seems to just kind of crumble a little bit, so we have to just make sure she stays all in one piece, all together, and she continues to persevere through the lesson. Obviously we haven't worked her that long in previous lessons, just because usually our flat lessons are about 30 minutes long, our jumping lessons are 45 minutes long, and we also ride her also on the weekend for about 30-ish minutes. So just these 15 minutes that are left, she just really has to power through. I think this lesson ended up being closer to an hour, just because we weren't getting the results that we wanted. But I must say that after this lesson, basically we had awesome results, and Hazel is definitely a little bit more patient. She stays with us, and it's wonderful. So here we are in the other direction here. So it seems this one, she's a little straighter from the get-go, so that's great. and she is bending way more. As you can see, she's more compliant on this side. She understood that she can't rush through it to get over it. So it's really nice to see her like come up in a nice frame and work hard to just get what we're asking for done. So I'm really pleased with that. And here my coach is just having a little bit of fun time, and she's just asking us to hit the poles either to the left, to the right, or to the center, and we're just practicing that, so that's great. As soon as I feel any resistance on my hands, I'm not afraid to just back her up and ask her to balance herself and collect herself properly so we can actually achieve the exercise. So really pleased with that. It's almost the end of the lesson, so we're just taking it easy, just working on these 3 poles to make sure we get the straightness and the pace. So after a great lesson, we're both actually at that point really tired, so it was a really nice lesson, very successful. Hazel and I learned like a lot of things on that lesson. I'm becoming more confident as a jumper rider, so I know that my horse is going to take the jump and she's going to bring me to the other side without hesitation. So that's really great feeling. I feel reassured, I feel safe. And we're having a lot of fun actually doing that, so that's great. Another thing that we've learned is to persevere. So sometimes things get a little harder, especially when we're tired, and rushing through our last 15 minutes of the lesson is definitely not an option. So Hazel's a great horse. She's hardworking, she's willing, but we have to make sure that she keeps her motivation and her willingness till the end of the lesson. So I'm actually really proud. It's the first time that we're actually really pushing her through that, and she did really well actually. The first few times she was getting a little frazzled, a little frustrated because she's tired, she doesn't want to do it, but with some encouragement she really powered through, and she did really great. So I'm really happy, really pleased with her, and that was one of our greatest lessons actually. So thank you guys very much for joining us through this lesson here. I hope that you guys learned something and that you've enjoyed watching our lesson and following along. We are learning constantly, and it's part of our successful journey here. I'm really happy on how much my horse is actually learning, how much I'm learning, and we're both becoming a better rider and horse, and also a better team together by doing that. So it's really awesome to feel like she's picking things quickly and she's adapting really quickly, and we can get things done like rather fast for how good she is becoming. So I'm really happy with her canter work, her jumping work, and obviously her willingness to do anything and everything through the lesson, even though she's tired and she's feeling a little full because she ate before the lesson. She's still a trooper, so really happy with her. So thank you again so much for being here with us, and I'll see you guys very soon. Bye for now.